exactly where they showed me in my dreams. It's really something else. And how they have really been showing up for me. I had an issue coming up, a money issue that came up, and I wasn't sure about it. Like I kind of felt like I was being taken advantage of, and I was like, ancestors, I think I'm being taken advantage of, but I really don't want. I had know how to handle this situation because there may be a language barrier, and I stated, I stated my concerns, and they didn't say anything else about it. And I said, well, I'm just gonna give them what I have. They want to charge me this, but I'm just gonna give them what I have. And I was wrestling with the ancestors about it, and their family finally told me, they said, you at where you at, you do what you do, you be where you be. Don't keep asking. If we put you there, that's where you supposed to be. Go give them what you got. So I told them what I had and went in there and paid it. And I paid. I thought I was gonna owe because I didn't pay the whole thing. And them people gave me my stuff. I don't owe nothing. I don't owe anything. It tripped me out. It's just been tripping me out how the ancestors have been showing up, how they really play you when you get your relationship right with God, when you get your relationship right with the ancestors, you really can see things pay off and your work pays off, you know. And it really when you really start getting to your rituals and being consistent at your altar, and that's very important because again you're developing a relationship with yourself, you're developing a relationship, a deeper understanding and relationship with your ancestors. Thank you. um Things will start, you'll start to see things open up. Okay, you will start to see things open up, especially when you be consistent on the ritual. Because I'm telling you, I start to have, my dreams have really started kicking up. Some of them very, very vibrant. You know, some of them I don't even understand. I don't come to understand them until later on. But they talking to you and they are speaking to you. So if you're interested in deepening your relationship with your ancestors and looking at rituals that would deepen your relationship with spirit, with your ancestors, and you want to learn hoodoo, the spiritual science, not no spells here and there, not what nobody told you. If you want to know the workings of it and deepen your practice, and just have a closer relationship with God, this is, I say, try it and see it. Now, this is what it's all about. For me, it's been a way of life. I can't speak for anyone else. I know when to keep my mouth shut. I know when to step back and let them do it. Cause I had a conversation. They put me in the family chat today. And of course, I've always been the oddball in my family, you guys. I've always been the oddball in my family. And so I didn't want my cousin to put me in the chat really. I was like, cause a Sagittarius and they mouth will rub people the wrong way because we don't sugarcoat nothing. Okay. So, and when you working with your ancestors and you working with God, you have to do like they asked you to do. You got to move yourself right on out the way, but be respectful and loving with it. So I knew some of the things and insights that I was having in the family was gonna hide. Thank you, paranormal what's her name? Paranormal Hoochie. Oh, that name, I can't say that. Jolly's community. So I knew it was going to rub some people the right way because everybody is not ready to get rid of those weights on them like that. And this takes work, you know. And remember I told y'all I had a dream. I was in a room talking to my family members, and here go my cousin put me in the family chat. you know. And I know I rubbed them the wrong way, some of them, coming out and walking my own path, you know. But had I not walked this path, I wouldn't have got the healing that I needed. I wouldn't be me. And so I knew that's gonna rub some people the wrong way, and some people start jumping out of the group. And my cousin was just like, "Why?" I was like, "Because this is hard work. This is not ancestors work. When you start peeling back and doing your shadow work and looking at yourself, but that's where the strength is. That's where the power is. But a lot of people don't want to do that. They want to grab some and not, and try to do a quick fix, but that's not always the case, especially if you going into hoodoo. If you think everything gonna be a quick fix and it's just gonna everything just gonna be magic, then you don't understand hoodoo. You don't understand hoodoo. Okay. But we definitely talked about Jewish mysticism and how it applies to hoodoo. And hoodoo is not the only one who use a form of Jewish mysticism as well. There's other cultures. But see, like I have to tell people, I have to tell some people that don't look like me, just cause it look like yours, it's not yours. This is something totally different. Okay, this is totally different because when you run into when we get into ancestral veneration, you might run into ancestors that may be connected to a voodoo deity. You might run into ancestors that's connected, through a certain saint they want you to work with. You might have ancestors that is connected with a certain archangel that they want you to work with. Okay. You'll see that as you begin to do your rituals, be consistent, get to know yourself, raise your frequency, move all those blocks out that you have going on, moving those blocks out. But we definitely know, we definitely look at hoodoo as a spiritual science. I'm not going to sit there and throw a whole bunch of spells at you and workings at you. That's not helping you. That's not helping you at all. In fact, I think it would be putting you more at risk if you don't understand the workings of things. You don't understand the workings. And it's based on healing, it's based on protection, it's based on love, it's based on justice, and it is a beautiful walk with your ancestors. It really is, as they lead you on your journey. Now, is it and again, it hasn't been easy for me because again, I'm trusting something I can't see and trusting my own intuition and having faith. And you got to be ready to do that over here when you jump in the hoodoo. But I know you can do it. Those are you that are ready to learn the right way. You just ain't about picking up stuff and throwing work at nobody and all that sort of stuff. And you truly want to grow on your spiritual journey, then I recommend that you get over there, especially if you're a person of color. I do not recommend any new age stuff. I'm telling you, uh, I don't know where that's going. I don't know where that's going. The twin flames, and some of the other things that's going on. I don't know where that's going. I don't know where when I got out here, I jumped in there too, and the ancestors told me to remove myself from that. That don't have anything to do with you. And so I removed myself from that. So don't believe the hype that you get out here, or the bypassing with all the positivity, you know, and just really owning how you feel and knowing how to feel when you do feel it, knowing that it's okay to feel any kind of certain way you want to feel. It's just temporary. So learning those type of skills, learning how to manage your energy mentally, emotionally, and physically. Like I said, everything works together over here. I don't know about anyone else, but um, it works together over here. So anybody has any questions for me about Hoodoo, about Patreon, what's over there, what we have over there, or just a little bit about how Jewish mysticism, I told you a little bit. We believe, we use, we look at the Hebrew alphabets over there. Um, we look at the 72 names or faces of God. We look at that. We break all of that down for you over there, and I go over that and kind of tell you how we use that in our workings. And I just dropped a lot of information over there about that. And our next thing we're going to talk about, like I said, the sword of Moses, which is going to be juicy. The sword of Moses is going to be juicy. I covered 2 books in this lecture because, again, our ancestors usually use, I think they said the 5 Mosaic books, and then they use the Key of Solomon as well. I haven't even dived into that yet. So I'm trying to keep it light, especially over there for the people in conjure. I gotta, keep it slow, steady, uh, and be a matter of fact about it. But is there anything that you want to know uh, about, Jewish mysticism in hoodoo or root work? We use the Psalms as well. And see, I talked about the Psalms. You'll hear the Psalms being talked about. And people will give you these Psalms. But in the Psalms, there are, different angels that are encoded in that Psalms that you can invoke. Okay. And we teach you the way to do that because it's a way that you have to do that. And I break that down in the lecture over there. So if you're interested in that, so that's very, now I know a lot of people have the book, The Secret Power of Psalms. And I had that book too for a while. Uh it's not until I found this other book that I was just like, okay, this is something, this is deeper knowledge, the knowledge that our ancestors understood about Psalms. So it's important that you get that history and look at it from that perspective too. I think it even empowers Psalms even more when you know this information. Any questions? I see some folks in here. Tori, Lynette, Paranormal Hoochie, uh, some more people in here. Echo Soul. Hello, Echo Soul. Hey, Corey Cole. Corey Cole, way over here. Hey, Corey Cole. Corey Cole, way over here. Dina, Big Bay. Hey. Southern says, how is hoodoo different from voodoo and voodoo? No hate, I promise. I'm just trying to figure out my path. Hoodoo is very different. It's I would say it's not that much different. Because when you go into hoodoo and we start going into the saints, you run into voodoo because you'll see voodoo and some of the orishas being synchronized with some of the saints. And then the longer that you look at these saints, you find out um, they become more ancestral. They start looking like me and you, especially when you look at the saints that are in the Americas. They start looking ancestral. You just like, what the world? And so does voodoo. Voodoo is ancestral as well. So and I have to tell palm color people, you have to be careful. I know you think this look like that, but this ain't that. This ain't that. Our power is totally ancestral. And when we start, the longer we dive deep and we get into our gungun, uh, gungun and start looking at our ancestral saints, especially when we start looking at the saints and hoodoo, you be like, oh my gosh, your eyes just come open again. The ancestors just still start revealing more information to you. And a lot of this information, the ancestors reveal secret information to each one as we deepen our practice with them. That's why, you can't really tell nothing. That's why it's closed. Because everybody, ancestors give everybody different secrets, on their path to connect with hoodoo. So, that's why it's really closed. And if you don't look like us, you don't need to be doing it because you put yourself at risk. You put yourself at risk when you do that. And I have to remind, them of that because it looks flashy and pretty to them. But for us, it's a way of life. It's totally ancestral, especially with what's going on in the United States today. Even more, we need to be closer to our ancestors because, a lot of stuff that's going on in the United States is directed towards us. And that's exactly why hoodoo was created. It was created as a spiritual solution, and it was spiritual revolutionary to create such a thing to to protect us, to heal us, to guide us. And so, I have to remind that the people, the same thing with Haiti voodoo, you know, same thing with Haiti voodoo. It wouldn't be wise for you to be going again, and it's ancestral. That's why they were able to do the things that they did over there and gain their independence. So I have to, remind people, just because it looks like your folk magic, you know, it is not the same. Okay. And you got your own stuff anyway. You got your own stuff. Your stuff worked just fine. It's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's been working for all those, the time you had it, just keep using it. There's no reason to jump over here. I have to tell them that there is no reason to jump over here. So I want to be absolutely clear. Any other questions? Southern Sass had a question. Any questions that you have for me, I'm here to answer them. Okay. So hoodoo is a spiritual science. You do not have to guess. Um, over there on Patreon, because I can be more open over there. I can really discuss things over there openly with you. Here, I have to stay on the surface of things. And even over there, I'm still allowing you space to form your own perspective on things. You know, basically, I'm just giving reviews and looking at it from a way that our ancestors looked at it. Now they looked at it like they was Moses. Now you look at Moses. Moses is a real good icon to look at because when they looked at Moses, they looked at Moses like a hoodoo worker, a hoodoo conjure man. And they embody that type of energy. That's how they got a lot of their work going on. When you look in the Jewish mysticism, there was their form of esoteric meaning behind their work. They embodied it. They became the Moses. They became Solomon. They took on this energy. They gave, you know, like I said, a lot of them people they was playing around with it, but our ancestors took it and gave it some life. See, my ancestors just like, "Oh, you gonna play with us? You playing with your own stuff? Oh, okay, all right, okay. You don't know how to work, do you? You don't know how to do your own stuff? Okay, all right. we gonna show you, that our stuff ain't evil. Moses was a country man. Uh, Moses was a root worker. And they took that out of there and they start forming their own spiritual system. That's what you're seeing. That's smart they was. And then they went in to study it even more when they go into the 6 and 7 books of Moses, and they applied more spiritual science to it. Thank you, Southern Sass. So that's how we use that, you know. And then when you go in and you start, uh working with some of these saints or angels, you're even more empowered. Again, you come in contact with the Egungun. There's some ancestors you can't tell whether they're angels um, or they were ever human. You have ancestors like that, and that is the Egungun. Again, but they, again, they require their offerings. They require us to get in alignment. And over there, we help you with all that. I understand that, and I would absolutely tell you that. I had to tell somebody that when they got in my inbox. I said, "Yeah, but this work is first." And if a practitioner is not telling you that, I'm concerned. You know, I'm concerned if they're not telling you that, because that ancestors work is the big part of all our ATRs. You can't move around without it. That, in fact, that's the big part of the initiation process. What did our ancestors used to eat? What do you mean what they used to eat? I don't understand that question. Because our ancestors, they were treated like chattel slavery, so a lot of them ate what they could. So they ate greens, beans, neck bones, chitlins. What did your ancestors eat? That's the most important thing. What did your ancestors eat? I know what my ancestors like. What did your ancestors like to eat? Because that's something you're going to need to know. I don't know what your ancestors like. I don't know what was traditional in your household. So, but whatever they like, you're definitely going to need to know before that time period. Oh, oh, so you have two ancestors. You have two forms of ancestors. Um, Now I'm not familiar with Korean meals, but I am familiar with black meals, and one of our staples is greens, cornbread, beans, chicken, uh, hot water cornbread. I'm from the South, so I don't know what your ancestors like. Depending on the era that they were in, the geological era they were in. So I can't answer that question for you. But I would, if I were you, I'd go into my family history and try to get to know more about my ancestors and what they like. That's what ancestors work is all about. So what my ancestors like won't be what your ancestors like. Do you show how to venerate your ancestors to build that connection? That's exactly what we do there over there when we go into ritual. In fact, I'm going to recommend, because some people get over there and they don't have altar. If you're ready, that's in a ritual and mastery class. If you're ready, you know, to build your altar or whatever, now is the time to do it. And again, ancestors veneration is all about being consistent at the altar. Some of us ain't staying there long enough. Some of us ain't sitting there having church. Some of us ain't there reading the scripture to them. Some of us is not saying enough prayers to them to elevate them, enlighten them. That's what that's about. So it takes, you're gonna have to spend some time at that altar, more than 5 minutes, and sit yourself down and start listening. You have to learn the language of spirit. So a lot of that you put in this whatever you get out, you know. And if ancestor veneration is not hard, it's really very simple. It's a very simple thing, but it takes consistency on your part, making time for them and listening, you know. And the more you do that shadow work, the closer your relationship get with them, because you need to see what frequency they were on. You need to see what frequency you're operating on and start getting in alignment. I recently came across a real good copy of the 6 and 7 books on Amazon. I need to order it. We're getting ready to I'm getting ready to release that book there on Patreon, and I'm getting ready to do a review on it as well. Because we look at some of the English writing in there, and I think it helps. The book reviews and stuff helps when someone can get in there and break it down and kind of tell you how our ancestors used some of the material. Because again, this is just the tip of the iceberg, Jewish mysticism. And when I look at Jewish mysticism, like I say, I look at it at being more of a thought with them. It was more of a thought, even though they use some of the tools in Jewish mysticism. But the what gave it power is they embodied the characters, some of these characters in the Bible. Like I said, it came alive for them. It became a grimoire. Any other questions for me? But like you don't have to guess anymore. And then everything over there is really affordable, because the way I look at things, this is just how my mind works. We were cut off from this for so long, and a lot of our elders, you know, they're not in proximity, but yet we want to learn the basics. And so I've made it um available in a way that you can afford it. Okay. And we also go into your astrological chart in there. And I'm getting ready to break down another person's chart tonight. When after I jump off with you guys, I'll have to study that and work on that. But if we go over your zodiac sign and looking at your specific unique skills that you brought here with you, because we all have. Hi, Kosan. I appreciate you too. We all have unique skills that the ancestors has blessed us with. And you'll see that too, because they'll start telling you stuff, it's secret stuff that nobody else knows. That's just what happens over there. That's why you will see hoodoo look different in different families, because their ancestors shared, specific workings with them that they were able to use easily. And so you will see that once you start working with your ancestors, but first you got to sit your butt down and listen. You got to be willing to clear out some of this stuff that's in here and that's in here that don't need to be in there. And you get an alignment with things. Okay. And, I know a lot of people in learning how to pour into yourself, because hoodoo is about that. You learn what frequency you're on when you get in here. Okay. Especially when you do the ancestral work. Please do not pass go, uh, with that. I know hoodoo is in my bloodline, but I don't have any elders to learn from, and the spiritual one of my family they lost their ways. Okay. I definitely didn't have anyone to basically teach me. Basically, I just started learning from the ancestors. Now, I worked with angels for a long time, a long time. But when I started working with ancestors and start doing my shadow work or healing work, they've called it so many different things now, but it's ancestors work. When I started doing that, I was able to clear out more things, and then I start accessing more information. They start showing me things. And it's just, it's nothing that I can put in the words. And I think a lot of us are like that when we have a intimate relationship with our ancestors, and when we have a personal relationship with God. It is such like I say, it would transform you. When you finally get it right, it would transform you if you're truly walking the path. I can't emphasize that enough now, because we got some folks out here that ain't healed, and they up here threatening to put light candles on people. I just don't understand it. Maybe that's not why I got in. I got in for growth. Got it for healing. I got in for balance. Miss Penny, what time is it right now over there? Right now it's 11:18 p.m. over here. It's nighttime here. hmm So, that's why I got in it. And so I feel too that there should be a sense of responsibility and maturity if you're gonna get in this. Especially with this work I've had to do on my altar. And if I came here talking to threatening to putting peoples in some, you know, threatening to use something in a harmful way, my ancestors gonna lay me down. Girl, if you don't sit yourself down somewhere and be quiet, that's how my ancestors gonna do me. You better hush your mouth and sit down and be quiet, girl. Get down, get over here and be quiet. Cause you don't know nothing. You need to stay in your lane. So I just don't understand it when I see some of the things going on here, because most of the time, and it's hard to come here sometime, because a lot of what you do in hoodoo is a whole bunch of shutting your mouth. That's what you be doing most of the time, building up your chi and shutting your mouth, you know, not reacting. I'm the same way. I'm looking for healing for myself, of myself, my bloodline, and the ones who are coming behind me. That is definitely the place. And that's how I mentor you. I mentor you a place of healing. I had a reading the other day, and then that's one thing when I do, when even with a reading, I'm gonna sit you down and I'm gonna see the places where you can heal, some places where you can get an alignment with things. I don't do any storyline readings over there. I just don't do it. I ask you what you're looking for, and we go in there, we dig that thing out, and we see if there's any blocks. I may give you a spiritual prescription. So, and that's definitely how I do over there on Patreon. I give you the tools that you need to heal yourself, to start looking at your chart, and I do a full breakdown of all the zodiacs of your gifts and some of the workings that you might be good at. Now, if you wanting something, I'm looking to regain my ancestral spirituality. Get over there to Patreon if that's something that you're interested in. If you are a person of color and you look absolutely like me, I don't want you to be guessing about your bloodline. You look like me. Definitely. You got some African ancestry in you, among the African diaspora. Yeah, you can get over there to Patreon. I got all the tools, all the books, really more books. I was going through books the other night, and I'm like, some of these books are over 100 years old. They're like, they're in my digital library. They're brown. Some of them are yellow looking. I'm just like, whoa, I don't know. Caribbean background. Okay, Caribbean background. That definitely qualifies to jumping into hoodoo. I could just see that going a lot of places when you said Caribbean background. Ain't no telling what type of ancestors gonna come up for you when you start doing that work. Does that include you join or extra service? That it now if I do a astrological breakdown for you personally for you, it's a $10 fee. I'm getting ready to break one down tonight. I'll be up, a little bit trying to get that broke down for this individual, but yeah, I'm gonna break it down for you, and that'll be just for you. Again, and usually what I see this now when I have done this, when I look at, and that's why I think it's so important to write everything down when you're doing the shadow work. I think I posted that book over there. I hope I did. If I didn't, I would do it. But when I give you that information for you to, kind of a prompt to start helping you do your ancestral work, you'll start to see where your chart, all that trauma, ancestors work, and stuff you need to do in your chart will look just like the stuff you wrote down. It'd be almost identical, you know. And I like when people see that. I like when they see that, but definitely when you get that chart, you're gonna see everything in there. And it might make it easier to do your shadow work when you see it. Because I know a lot of people that, you got to be ready to come out of denial when you do that shadow work and peel back and look at you and call yourself out. And so a lot of people don't like doing that work. Yes, my ancestors have lived all over Jamaica, Cuba, Panama, and the list goes on. Hoodoo definitely feels like it aligns with me, and I want to learn from the ground up in the Patreon. You definitely learn from the ground up in Patreon. You definitely learn, and again, I go right to shadow work. I'm gonna recommend that to you. If you come to me and tell me something ain't working, and you know, you tell me something is not working, you come to me and say, "Hey, this is not working," and I'm gonna start troubleshooting with you. That's the first one of the first things I'm gonna ask you about. I'm gonna ask you about your consistency on your rituals. We might talk about, this should be already known. Is your house clean? Hey, act up, cut up, 77. Is your house clean? That should be, you already know, because cleanliness and all that, that's important when you get into this practice. You want to keep your space clean, you know. We're going to troubleshoot those things. And that's the first thing well, you probably need to go back to your ancestors' work, because what you will find, I talked about this during road openers. A lot of people like to go into road openers, and you see people do these beautiful road openers up here. And the first thing to go through my mind, why ain't you telling them folks gonna probably need a blockbuster? First, you got to clear the road before you go, try to open it. You got to clear it. And sometimes people need to do a blockbuster. And what does that blockbuster consist of? You might have to do some shadow work for a couple of days before you even do it and dive deep and start moving some blocks out. Do you work with Atlantean? I'm not going there with no Atlantean ancestors. I don't know what that is. I know we have star ancestors, but again, I want to stay grounded in what our ancestors practice. Now, if you go beyond that in your ancestral veneration, okay. But we're going to talk about the ones that our ancestors use. I have a mixed background, one parent black, one parent white. Hoodoo has been a calling to me. Okay. Been told I have Gullah Geechee ancestors and natives, so that's going to be interesting. Absolutely. Absolutely. Should have been had something going on. Tapping into that, you know. I'm not sure about the Atlantean ancestors. Now I want to go because I know a lot of these a lot of what we seeing today, what I'm seeing in the new age today. And I have to go back to this new age stuff because some of the things that they be doing and saying, you got to remember you're looking at somebody who's trying to perfect their spiritual sciences. That's why they got a hold to all these occult books, and you got all these men writing these occult books trying to understand something that they taken from another superior cosmic being and applied it to themselves. Okay. And so when I see them out here doing this channeling, and what does it for me is when them things be milky, look like milk. They say these things, they look like milk. Now I'm done talking to you. I don't want to talk to you no more. And you telling me you talking to something that comes from a melanated universe look like milk. You understand me? Now I can understand if they was green, yellow, brown, purple, but they look like milk. I have to stop it there because it look, for me it just, I don't know, the ancestors just tell me it looked like that same whitewashing stuff to me. So I have to just back up off you. I don't know what's going on there. And I have to stop and get back from that because you saying these aliens are responsible for humanity, and we know the first humans, they were very dark skinned people. And I don't know why. I understand if they was jet black, you know. I don't know why they would turn the milk look like milk all of a sudden. Now I'm done with that. I'm not going to be, that's just my take on that. I just feel like that's another, messing with my mind type of thing. And our ancestors, they talked about, when they talked about aliens, they didn't say nothing about them looking like milk. And they said some of these star ancestors was their ancestors. You can go back to the doggone tribe. So I have to stop it there. That's where ancestors told me, get away from there. That girl, if you don't move out the way, get out the way. They don't got nothing to do with you. Get yourself out the way. They don't have nothing to do with you. Get yourself on out the way. So that's what I did. Now, that's why I tell you be careful out there with them, because see that's their stuff. That a lot of that stuff, they came in and set up the Golden Dawn orders and these occult lodges and stuff, and they start making up stuff. That's why we here today. You know, we look. They come in here and they come in there and they took over. That divine feminine spirit, and they put that man in charge. And now you surprised that you got Freemasonry everywhere. Well, hell, that's how it started, ain't it? You start unaliving all of the divine feminine cosmic beings here and overthrowing them, taking over the land and telling them they stuff was evil, and then plagiarize they stuff, and uh that's what so I'm not justifying what they doing, absolutely not justifying it, but I can see corruption begets corruption. That's what I'm gonna say. Corruption begets corruption. And if y'all men would have set somewhere down somewhere and stopped trying to take over stuff, everything would been all right. But usually, you got to know yourself. You take it to another level. You take it to another level. You know. So again, when I see them over there doing that, I'm not gonna mess with you. I'm not gonna mess with you. With you them aliens and everything looking like milk. I'm not messing with you. I don't know where that come from. Cause I don't remember. I gotta go back what my ancestors told me, and they never showed me nothing like that. You understand me? So don't get over there and get caught up in that hype with them, the star seeds and all that other stuff. Don't get caught up in that with them, okay? Be careful about your ancestors. You got your own stuff. You got your own stuff. You got so much mystical stuff. In fact, they copy your mystical stuff. They copy and then call it something else. I've seen them do that too. I've seen them copy stuff and call it something else, and I'd be like, "That's not what that is. That's not what that is. That ain't what that is. That is this." And you done turned that into something else. Now look at you. You know. So y'all be careful with that, because they will do some. They will create something. They will create. They constantly creating new stuff. I'm telling you. So be careful with that. And a lot of that stuff, uh, that they are doing, I have to look at it sometimes and say, I mean, but that's their ancestors. They come from a lot of that stuff spins off from Aleister Crowley. Okay. Hey, Miss Penny. I jumped from TikTok over here. I had to show your YouTube some love. Thank you, Coley Cole. Yes. But I mean that's what, so be careful out there with that. Your culture and everything is totally different. Okay? It's totally different from them. Your whole hoodoo history, uh, your cosmology is a little different from theirs. Uh, the way our ancestors looked at the soul progression, their understanding of our soul cosmology, about the soul progression is a lot more different. And again, we become our ancestors. You become them. You know what I'm saying? So there's power in that, and that's a lot of why when we talk about that in hoodoo history, after we start, get into our hoodoo practice, a lot of them start trying to market to us. They start trying to come up with their own hoodoo stuff. They start trying to market, our conjure oils and candles and stuff like that. You see a lot of plagiarizing going on during that hoodoo era. You've seen a lot of them trying to market to us. And then you've seen a lot of them uh, start to embrace what you call a sort of spiritualism. Okay, so again, and I'm not trying to say theirs is not powerful. I'm not trying to disrespect their stuff or not, because some of them got some fire Appalachian magic, hoodoo magic. Um, you got the Hispanics, they got some fire folk magic fire. I'm not trying to take away from them at all. That's not what I'm trying to do here. But I'm saying, you got your own. There's no reason for you to reach for somebody else's, and yours is vast. Yours will start running into other spiritual systems sometimes. Depends on how far, how your ancestors lead you. But you got some people that work with ancestors, I know, and for me it's been like that. I've worked with ancestors for a very long time and really hadn't had to go out and work with another system. Not yet. I ain't gonna say I'm not gonna do it. It'll never happen. But for now, uh, it's just been the ancestors and doing that ritual work on my altar. Maybe talking to a saint, um, talking to archangels. But I've always worked with archangels. I worked with them for a very long time. Uh, and they are the one is who really introduced me to ancestors. Just like, yeah, you need to heal. That's when they was just like, you need to heal. I'm like, how you do that? Connect with your ancestors, because they've been here all along. And when I connected with my ancestors, they instantly, it tripped me out how responsive they was. I instantly started getting responses from them. And so it's been that way. And again, the ancestor altar is built for devotion and communion with them. And the longer that you have your altar, you'll see that too as you go on, the more elaborate it's going to get. It's just going to get more and more beautiful. The longer you have it, you just going to adorn that thing because your relationship begins to deepen with your ancestors. And the energy on the altar just shift. When you go there, you're going to start feeling so much peace, so much protection. You're going to feel an intimate closeness with them. Okay, and that's just how it works. You'll go in some people's houses that's been doing ancestral veneration or been in hoodoo for a long time, and they will have beautiful, elaborate shrine looking altars that's just beautiful. Copy cut paste from their own use. Yep, that's basically what happened. That's basically what happened, Big Bang Exotics. You said what you had to. To thank you. Yeah, I mean, I had to, keep it. I have to be apparent about that, and I don't. And it's a shame that I have to say that because some of them will come out here and try to attack. Some of them would try to, well, you're leaving me out. Nobody's leaving you out. Like you got the whole array of other stuff. We even use some of y'all stuff in our stuff, cause so I know you got your own stuff. I know, so you use it. Hoodoo is a mixture of European, Jewish, mysticism, indigenous spiritual practices. You'll see a lot of that up in there. And that's one reason why it belongs to us, because you don't need access to a lot of those indigenous practices. Some of these indigenous practices are connected to nature. They are rituals that our ancestors did. And so, you know, you don't need to know that stuff, and then that's some of the things that the ancestors going to start to reveal to you too, once you start connecting with them. Like I told you, my grandmother knew how to split storms. Tripped me out when she told me that. So you'll start finding things like that. Indigenous things that they did, they could, do out in nature. And some people don't have access to that sort of knowledge. And so once you start, again, going out into nature, connecting with those ancestors, I do not recommend, I'm going to say this too for the people in the back, I do not recommend that you put recent family members on your altar. I just don't recommend it. Okay. If you don't know their stories, we don't know what type of lives they really live or what type of healing work they really needed to focus on before they passed away. So again, we want to work with the most healthiest igungun. We want the ones who's going to put us in alignment with our prosperity, our abundance, and our healing. And then we can petition them uh, to help other family members heal. And we do that by going there saying prayers. We do that by asking forgiveness for our ancestors, for our family, for any, things they have done knowingly or unknowingly that could uh, affect the generational line, the bloodline. So we talk about, I can't emphasize that enough. Now, if you want to know more about that, I think a really good book, like I can refer to good books on that, especially when it comes to healing ancestors. One of them is Ancestral Medicine by Daniel Four. I like the book because he learned from, I can't remember this name. His name is Maladomi something. I can't remember his name, but I read his book on ancestral veneration and magic too. and doing rituals in nature. You know, there's rituals that you can do in nature to honor your ancestors, putting food out there, doing rituals on the river. Um, Again, connecting with those most positive and healthy igungun. I don't recommend, putting recent family members on the altar, because once you start doing that shadow work, you're gonna realize why I tell you that. I'm gonna say that. Once you start doing that shadow work and start looking at the family members, you'll understand, well, damn, I know why she told me that now. These people need to be healed. I need to be healed. So it will all make sense once you start doing the shadow work. And what a lot of people are doing, I don't think that's emphasized enough on here. Because I see a lot of people putting family members on there, and recent family members that passed away. No, you just supposed to be praying for them. You need to be saying prayers for the people that passed over for them when you go to that altar. Okay? That's what's going to put the power that gives the Egungun power to help the family. When you're praying for them and keeping them in intercession like that, and you doing your own healing. So again, you're going to be the light in the family once you start doing that work. Blackfoot, Choctaw, and again, you can do that because I mean we got an ancestors called Black Hawk. Uh, and again, when we go into our ancestry, I'm gonna break that down too. I think I have broke it down. There's so much information over there on Patreon. What I try to get, and yeah, I did decolonize that. I did. What I try to get people to understand over there is, for a lack of a better term, because we've been African American, we've been colored, we've been black, so your identity have been obscured. So you'll find out that a lot of these people that are classified are, as African American, are actually have deep indigenous roots in the Americas. That's why connecting to the land is so important. Okay, and you'll learn that, and they'll start to give you certain information. Connecting back with that. That's where I told you my grandmother knew how to split storms. She knew some other stuff too, that she was explaining to me, and it was something else my mama had told me, and I was like, I didn't know y'all used to take pregnancy tests like that. They used to, it'll trip you out. I think I might share that on Patreon, but the method that old method they used to use on pregnancy tests would trip you out. And I know we had one midwife could look at you and tell that you was pregnant, but our ancestors also had another way they could tell if a woman was pregnant too. So I mean, there is a lot of knowledge. Again, knowing about your roots, your herbs, studying them. So if you want to connect with those most indigenous ancestors, really go into your root work and the herbs, and start again using that in a lot of your workings and connect. Because again, they will show you. They will show you what that stuff is meant for. And like I say, everybody hoodoo don't look the same. You got Alabama hoodoo, you got Arkansas hoodoo. I had a young lady, saw a lady making a TikTok, and she said this lady used hoodoo. She wasn't using number water in a jar. See, some of it's simple. You ain't got to go out and buy some of that stuff. They'll tell you use simple stuff in your cabinet and it'd be fine. This lady used a water and a jar, and she was fine in her hoodoo work. Again, when you get your mysticism down, when you get your relationship right with God, you get your personal relationship, you get that down, you get it cleared out, you'll be able to do that same thing. Okay? Again, you'll be walking in the faith and the power of your ancestors when you do it. But there's some people, they don't need nothing but simple things. And I showed when I got here, the ancestors said, I was like, I ain't got this, I ain't got that. They was like, use this, just simple stuff. You got some sugar in there, don't you? Okay, you can use that sugar to get this done. You got some salt, don't you? Oh, that's all you need right there. What kind of herbs you got? Oh, you got some chamomile. You got some chamomiles and oregano. Oh, you can do some stuff with that. And so I've been having to work with these little small herbs, but still getting stuff done. So it doesn't take a lot, and you'll learn that once you start following your ancestors. They be telling you how to do stuff. They didn't go out and buy no expensive stuff. They went and used what they had on hand. They definitely was not. I don't know where this come from. They was not using no honey. I'm telling you that now. Honey is slow. If you were trying to sweeten something up with honey, that's going to take time. That's going to take time. They was not using honey. Okay, that was too expensive. Wasn't nobody wasting it doing that like that. You know, they were using what they had in their kitchen. And it wasn't no fancy nothing. Yeah, you sure right, Big Bay Exotic said sugar water. That's what you use. You want something working fast. You want it to move. And again, you have to look at those books, who wrote these books with the honey jar and all that, because you have a lot of these people saying they're practicing hoodoo, and maybe they got some African ancestry. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt, and a lot of what they're doing is not hoodoo. Again, they start using this as a staple because, like I told you, a lot of our ancestors didn't call it hoodoo. I never heard them call it hoodoo. I never seen hoodoo, start being commercialized. When this term start being used, I'm seeing our spiritual practices start to be commercialized. I'm gonna say it like that. Straight out the kitchen cabinet, simple ingredients. I mean, straight simple stuff. And that's what I've been led to do, not getting no fancy stuff. So when you see uh people telling you, there are substitutes for different things, you can use what you have in your kitchen. There's no reason to go break the bank and buy all this expensive stuff. And yep, molasses too. Honey was too expensive. Molasses was another choice. I think syrup would have been another choice as well. How to clear yourself from witchcraft attack. How to clear yourself from witchcraft attack. The first thing I would start doing, I can't uh emphasize that enough, is start doing your own energy work and start doing uncrossing work. Uncrossing work, uncrossing work, uncrossing work. I would definitely be for me, I would definitely, cuz he can get some stuff done, honey. I would definitely be calling on the Archangel Michael. I would definitely see, y'all think them, y'all sleeping on them archangels. Them archangels would put in some work for you. Don't you discount what Michael can get in there and do. Because honey, if they on the wrong side of the fence, he can cut some cords, he can cut it out. He can put in some work. Whatever type of spirit they send, uh don't sleep on them, because they're gonna be some of your allies. I'm telling you. Don't discount what them angels can do. And um we go over that over there in Patreon. Depending on these different angels that you work with, some of them, some of these archangels, don't dismiss what they can do for you. I would say start with some uncrossing baths and start petitioning, start doing some rituals to Archangel Michael. Because again, when you look at witchcraft, it takes a lot of manipulation. And then with somebody sending you something, witchcraft, it usually is going to affect your mind. And if your mind is not strong and you don't have a defense system that's already built in and ready to go, then it can get the best of you. Do you believe in Jesus or just God within? I believe. Now here we go with that because when I get these questions in here, I don't know. I just feel like I'm talking to, um, I guess I've been attacked by Christians so much. I'm just shell shocked from that. I guess that's what it is. Now this Jesus thing is a very interesting topic to me, and the way they have set that up. Uh, I would like to see it as a matter of fact. Okay. For me, I would like to see, as a matter of fact, Jesus to me, I see my ancestors as Jesus. Them the only people I know that was burning on crosses and being, you know, that was really being unalive. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. So that's how I look at that. You know, uh again, I have to go by facts here. I have to go by facts, and that in the way they have spent this character, it also, I think it prevents people from being accountable for some of their stuff. So that's very, and I'm not knocking nobody if that they want to believe in Jesus. That's their thing. I'm not knocking it, but for me, you know, I just can't relate to that because I've never seen a man on this planet do that. I've never seen a man on this planet exemplify any of that. I'm just being real. I've never seen a man on this planet exemplify any of that. And so when I see the patriarchs coming in, you're purposely taking out the divine feminine, and you're bringing in a lot of this phallic work, and this person came from the divine feminine. She no man had touched her. So when I look at her, I'm like, dang, why we skip her power? Because it's through her that he has this power. That's why when you go in the Catholic Church, they're so big in the blessed Virgin Mary. They again, because that's the mother of all of this. So there is, so and those are just my complex feelings about it. You might see it from another perspective, but that is how I see that. you know I don't, seeing all the changes that you went through to put in this male god and this phallic worship, because that's what that is. you know that's what it is. That's what that led to. you know I, it, I don't see a man exemplar. The only one I know that would lay down for their children or lay down is women. Women. I don't see a man doing that. Again, you're giving men attributes that they don't rightly have. You know, that's so. I know that can be complex for some people, but you don't see that. And so again, I think it gives us false perceptions of things, and that's what got us in this thing now. You know, where we don't really understand our place as women and men. I'm saying this in the most um in a way where it doesn't sound offensive, but again, these are my own opinions only. I don't see that like that. Okay. Um, but again, I don't knock nobody else's practice. I believe in the Most High God. Uh, And then there's no word for God. Again, it's just a sound. She is all encompassing. You know, that's what I believe in. But when I got men giving me a God and telling me something to believe in, I don't believe in that. When have you ever told me the truth? When have you ever told me the truth? How am I just supposed to believe that? You giving me something. You're not giving me the opportunity to make a choice. And that's my thing with when I see the church talk about Freemasonry and how they're going into a monotheist God, but then y'all do the same thing. And now you're afraid when the Masons do it, but when you do it and you were forcing people into it, you were fine with that. And now you can't even get the corruption and the abomination out of there because y'all built that on abomination. So I don't know where you thought that was going to go. So again, I have to go into, how that was set up, the theology and the history of it. I cannot be blind to that. And I think that's a lot of stuff that has got us in trouble, being blind to that, you know. Hannah, I'm not doing any readings. I don't have any cards. Now, if you want to book a reading, you're welcome to DM me, send me your email, and I'll send you an invoice, and we can schedule you a reading. But I'm not doing any readings right now, sweetheart. And how things going over there in the United States? I've heard that a lot of people are you facing. There's a lot of challenges that a lot of us are facing over there. Those of you in the United States. So I've heard a lot of people have been having issues finding jobs. But that's my opinion on that. I don't know how you feel about it. A lot of people is talking about that now. I mean, you actually got thinking instead of people being grounded and accountable, you actually got people letting a lot of this stuff happen because they waiting on Jesus to come back out the sky. I just again, what I'm saying, instead of people standing in their power and taking their power back, I think that it's just a way to keep people uh inactive, dumbed down, ignorant, for a lack of a better term. Did Haiti do that? What if Haiti did the same thing? We're not gonna do nothing until Jesus come back. We're gonna let Jesus save us. Where do you think that would have got Haiti if they did that? You know, and it's something that was forced upon the masses. The people don't even use it. They don't even follow any of the religion that they forced upon people. In fact, they didn't even follow it. They forced it upon our ancestors and then use it. They use it as a weapon against us. You know, you use it to justify what you do. So you know, I can't really believe nothing that you give to me and force me to bow down to, um, not your religion, not your religion, and that's just me. I don't know how other people feel. Now you have some people they totally embrace hoodoo in their Christianity. You got some people they're Christians and they practice hoodoo. I absolutely I don't see nothing wrong with that. They use the name of Jesus. They don't have a problem with that. I think and from a a cult perspective, let me stop saying a cult. From the spiritual hoodoo perspective, our ancestors looked at Jesus a little different. Oh, thank you, homeschooler. I'm glad you enjoying the lectures on Patreon. That was homeschooler. She's on my YouTube channel here, and she says she enjoys the lecture on Patreons. Now I'm really big on that, breaking it down. Some people give you stuff and say read it for yourself. Yeah, you can read it for yourself. I'm gonna give you the book, but I find that people take away more when you can give a lecture on the subject and a review on the book. They seem to can take away more when you can provide that form, you know. So I think that's important. So you'll see a lot of that on Patreon. If you get up there, you'll if you get the ritual mastery and the collective conjure, you're definitely going to get the lectures um, and all the other good stuff. And in fact, we're getting ready to do a meet and greet. I think Saturday. So we'll be doing a meet and greet Saturday. We haven't even started in on our workshops and just our open discussions yet. That's going to be fun too. I think it's going to be fun. And my thing, don't be afraid to ask questions over there. If you don't know, if it's something that you question, have that discussion over there because again, maybe it's something that we didn't see, you know, maybe it's something that we need to know and discuss. So never be afraid to ask questions, share your experience. So don't be afraid. That's how we learn, that's how we grow. And then you find out what you really need too. Yes, very insightful, just taking everything in. You've been very detailed. See, that's what I try to be as detailed. Thank you so much, homeschooler. I try to be as detailed as possible because I don't, my thing. I don't want you to go away there with any misconceptions. I and to have a healthy relationship with your spiritual practice. You know, and I don't definitely don't want to just be giving you spells and work. That's not helping you. That's not helping you at all. Now you got some people that teach their way. They want to give you a psalms for this and a this for that and this for that. That's not the root of hoodoo. It's just not. Okay, it's not the root to hoodoo. And I see people share a lot of things without giving context. Yeah, you can go buy that candle from so and so. You can burn that candle. It might work. It might work. But can you stay consistent at it? Do you know how it works? You know, that's what we talk about over there. So you know how to set up your table, you know the intentions that you need to have, and you know the energy you need to be working with to get stuff done. Okay? And that's definitely what we talk about over there. I'm going to bring that up, and I think when we get into the five Mosaic books and into the 6 and 7 books of Moses, it makes it absolutely clear what kind of power that you're working with. Okay, it makes it absolutely clear, and how our ancestors viewed these characters in the Bible, because for them, they brought them to life. That's why that Bible was used the way it was used. They actually brought these characters to life, and that empowered their magic as well. And see, they got somebody else sitting around shucking and jiving with that Bible. But our ancestors took that Bible, baby, and honey, they put some fire behind it. They made it do what it do. They started learning all the powers in it. And then you had some l- less fortunate, let me say that, poor uh Europeans, they was having to practice some of that folk magic too. So you'll see them, kind of share a little bit of what they knew with us too, because it some of the books that you see, it was common among the people who practice folk magic. Okay, but again, I have to tell people that look like this, it is not the same. Okay, so to get that out your head, get that out your head. If y'all, you got your own folk magic. I don't know what you call it, but you have your own folk magic. Okay, my battery about to die on this phone here. Does anyone have any questions for me about Patreon, about Hoodoo and Mysticism, about ancestral healing? 'Cause that's number one. That's gonna bring power to your work. That's gonna bring power to your work. You would do yourself a disservice if you ain't trying to do that. Okay. Anybody else? If you have any question, hi Michael Backersfield, Backers, Baskersfield. I think I said that right. Any questions for me regarding Hoodoo? I will answer surface questions here. But if you really want the juicy stuff, you really want the juicy stuff, get over there and you'll get the juicy stuff. Oh, yeah, there's an email here. Let me put it in the chat. I don't even know if I can leave a message. But I'm sorry, Gabe, that spelled that wrong. If you if you're wanting a reading with me, again, just DM me your email address. I'll get you out a invoice. There we go. I'll get you out an invoice and we'll set up a reading for you. And again, I don't know what's going on here. I see some of these people be reading these cards. They be the wrong meaning for the card. Um, or they stand up here all night long reading these cards, tarot cards. I don't know what's going on. Or they doing this 1-900 type of marketing with their tarot readings. I'm gonna say this again. You know, beloved people. Uh, no tarot reader, real tarot reader not gonna be up here all night long. We know how energy work. We don't even like using our energy like that. Really, we don't like doing, coming here doing readings on live. I told you about my experience with that. Now I used to do it on YouTube all the time. It's been a while since I've done it. And I don't thinking people even want a real reading. They want this storyline readings. They love storyline readings, and if they don't even know they messing themselves up like that. And then somebody come to me, and I have to peel all that stuff back and look at their life and really start looking at stuff, because these storyline readings, a lot of them, they again, that's a collective reading. Get your own reading. Stop running with this stuff. Now you got a lot of people up here again. You need to know what frequency you on. You up here just taking, 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 taking. You got some people like that. They want to take, 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 take. But they don't want to invest nothing, put in nothing for themselves. Yeah, they want the fluff. Yep, that's right, the homeschooler. They want the fluff, and what the other person is doing is thinking instead. And them people gonna tell you what you want to hear because they just want your money. And then you come back a month or two later, well, everything you said that didn't happen in my life, and that wasn't it, because you wanted to hear. I worked for a psychic hotline, and I've had people to come in there and want to be lied to. That's so terrible. They spend money Lots and lots of money to hear lies. And here I am telling these people, look, I don't do that. And if that's what you want me to do, working for this psychic company, then I have got to exit the door because I'm not gonna compromise. Uh, I'm not gonna compromise my gifts like that. I'm just not gonna do it. It's unethical. Uh, I just can't do people that way. And I would never get in your inbox and ask you for a reading because that ain't me. I'm not gonna ever do that. Okay. All right, Big Bay Exotics. But I'm telling you, I would never do that. Now, some of these people, I see them putting out the wrong, making up stories, and I can never. It's always a story about you and your man, you and your woman, you and your situationship, you and your. If you got that going on, the first thing you need to do is get somewhere and heal. You want to know information so you can keep manipulating, being in a sick, toxic situation. Now I see that all the time. Hey, Black Eyed Peas, how you doing? I see that all the time. I ain't gonna let you do it with me because I want you to leave there healed. You know, I want you to be absolutely clear on what needs to be going on with you. What you need to do to take care of yourself and get yourself back in balance and reach your goals. What you can do to reach your goals. I'm going to go over that with you. I'm not going to sell you. It sounds like one of them. And the two, when I listen to some of it, it sounds something like how they used to have them prosperity prophecies. Some of it sound like some of them prosperity prophecies I be listening to. I said, oh Lord, that I don't even know what to say. I just scroll on down. I said, well, you know. I hope somebody watching over these people. I hope they guardian angel, they ancestors watching over these people. And they just not reach for something. But you got a lot of people they just want to take, 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 take. They don't want to invest nothing. They want you to give you everything on here. I say to you, look at what frequency that you on. Let's see, once you get a real spiritual practice, you're gonna have to be able to pour into yourself. You're gonna have to be able to uplift yourself up. You're gonna have to stop going to other people and extracting their energy to get you powered up. Oh, that's good, Blake Morton. Okay, okay, y'all. For TikTok, I'm gonna close y'all down because my battery getting ready to run down. But I will be talking to you soon. Okay, love you and take care. What are you live in? I don't think I understand that question, Black Eyed Peas. What are you live in? What are you live in? I don't think I understand your question, baby. And I know that this typing is something else on TikTok trying to type on this stuff. Hey, Astro Society Corporation. You have another live on. Yeah, I'm on y'all can come over here on YouTube. Cause this getting ready to die. This phone getting ready to die, y'all. So you could jump on YouTube if you want to. Yeah, I'm over here on YouTube. So I'm this phone getting ready to die, but you can come over here, and I'm still on YouTube. The same name, and the link it should be in the bio too. Okay, I cut them off over there. Yes. So again, hey, how you doing, Y Reed? Blake Morton said, I miss with Jewish stuff, Kabbalah, Solomon, Go at Asher. Now, I'm always careful about that, Go at Asher. Now, that's over there. We talk about that over there in my collective conjure class. I mean, tier. Now, one thing I can say about the Goetia, you have to be very careful with them. And I do know a lot of people have deemed them evil because they couldn't classify or categorize them. Uh, because they're, again, neutral. You can use them any way. But again, being very quick, careful about the Goetia spirit. Now I break that down in the book, Summoning Spirits book over there. I break that down with the Goetia spirits, but some people can work safely with them. Like I said, I don't recommend anyone doing this unless you a big stepper, high stepper. But like I said, you can work with root work and never go over there and start doing that conjure and working with these spirits, because again, you have to understand too, when you start doing that kind of work, you got to pay these spirits. You understand me? You got to pay them. And I would say those are for the ones who know what they're doing. They are used to their ritual. They have some order to their ritual. They have perfected their spiritual science. They're in tune with themselves. Because see, if you get over there and start messing with these spirits, we have to remember that they're going to be speaking to you through your neurotransmitter, which is your mind. Okay. And then you're going to be feeling some more energy through your energy emotions, through your emotions, what you feel. So if you don't have that intact, you know, you can be vulnerable to certain things. Okay, you can be very vulnerable if you don't have that intact. That's why you see some people get over there and conjure, and they ain't did no work. They be a hot mess, honey. Life be all jacked up. Life be all jacked up. They'll reach for that. Ain't did no healing work. Hey, Black Eyed P, he's Greg over here. Hey, Black Eyed P for TikTok. But that's one of the things that I recommend when you get over there. Again, when you start getting into your hoodoo practice, we keep it light, we keep it mild. For the first part, don't mean you ain't tapping into power. Because as you move on, you're gonna start to see your power in your root working, in your ancestral work, and with the archangels. Because again, getting you aligned with the archangel you can work with. And first start off with your star sign, looking at that. And then you might have to go on, again, depending on if you come to me and say, Miss Penny, I contact this archangel and I want to get too much back. And then we might have to sit down and say, let's see what else. Let's look at your chart and see, what other archangel you can work with. What are you trying to do? And then depending on what you're trying to do, we'll come up for some options with you, because sometimes that happens. Because when you get over there, it's not one size fit all when they're working with spirits. You'll be able to work with some archangels better than you work with others. And it's just like that. It's nothing against you, it's nothing personal. Again, it's about your frequency, how high your frequency is, and can you match that frequency with that energy? Because if you can match that frequency with that energy, then you'll be able to receive those messages and insight and support that you want. Now, if you ain't ready to get up early in the morning and you ain't ready to, you know, keep time going to your altar for rituals, if you ain't ready for that, then you probably don't want to jump in hoodoo. Because again, this is spiritual science. Contrary to what you have seen on social media, that's why a lot of us keep a certain amount of time. A real hoodoo practitioner, uh, because I've been off here for 2 days. Because I've been having to do other spiritual work. I didn't have time. I had to work on what I had needed to do for me. So a lot of times we don't have time to be coming up here spending a lot of time on here like that, because we have rituals and things that we have to do to take care, keep ourselves in alignment. Now, I'm gonna probably dive in that a little bit later. But yeah, we're gonna go into the uh Lamadama Big Mama spirit. And again, there's different faces of her, you know. She does certain things, but you also seeing her connected with that Oya spirit too, because Big Mama come out and sweep it out clean. So when you look at that Lama Dam spirit, Big Mama spirit, you also looking at an essence of Oya as well. Okay, because Big Mama, she gonna clear it out. She don't play no games. She gonna get it right, clear it out. Uh, and again, there's different faces to Lama Dama as well when you start working with her. Okay, but you can't play no games with her. When you work with that sort of spirit, your life got to be right. Like I say, with some of these energies, if your life is not if you're not in alignment, you're not on that frequency, you're not gonna work well with some of these energies. Yep, that's right. You have archangels that's associated with each day of the week. You have that as well. Now we break that down totally when you get over there on Patreon. We break it all the way down to the hour. And that's one reason why you need your almanac as well. And the almanac also, and I'm gonna get into that. We haven't even reached that yet. But depending on where, our ancestors look at that almanac and they would choose the kind of work they want to do depending on what they see in that almanac. you know a lot of people don't like to do, that's just like retrogrades. It's certain work that you can do, take advantage of during the retrogrades, if you know what you're doing. I'm telling you that almanac, I'm telling you, need it. It is the most timely thing that, that thing, it's like it's never wrong. I don't know who wrote that, who was the first one. Probably need to look into that. Who was the first person who wrote that almanac? But honey, they did something when they created that thing. You hear me? They knew what they was doing. That Big Mama energy, and it's coming back in because Big Mama comes in, she sweeps it clear, she gets it right, and you ain't gonna come to her with no mess. Now you really can work with that Big Mama spirit, especially if somebody wishing you harm or something like that. That Big Mama spirit, Lama Dump, that will sweep it out. Especially if you got some people that owe you some money or something, she's a good spirit to work with too. And that's why I tell people that don't look like us, some of this stuff you will not be able to work with because it's ancestral. See, Coley Cole back there, that is an ancestral uh spirit that he's talking about, that Big Mama spirit. You understand me? So that's why I have to tell some people, I know it look like yours, but it ain't yours. This ain't you. This is something else. I know it looks like that, but it's not that. Because as we go on, you will see when your ancestors start pushing you to work with some of these spirits, they're going to be looking like you. And some of them are ancestral. Yes, like I said, she is an ancestral spirit. Isn't she an ancestor? Okay, yes, she is. And see, you're running there when you need to work with Black Hawk. Some of you might want to work with Marie Laveau. You know what I'm saying? Again, when you start looking at our archetypes, especially African Americans, we have such a wide scope of that. You have some people that want to work with the ancestral spirit as Tupac. There's some people said they have worked with him, but they can only work with him short term because he met his early demise. He's not one of them ancestral spirits you want to be working with for a long term, only for short term. You might want to work with Malcolm X, you know. Just, if you a person, you a speaker, and you want to tap into that speaking power, you probably want to work with him. Again, because it's ancestral and it's in our culture, we have access to these ancestors. Now, the person that don't look like me call themselves trying to mess with Malcolm X gonna get themselves jacked up because that man, Again, you see what I'm saying? Can you imagine somebody that don't look like me trying to call on Malcolm X? You can you imagine how his response gonna be? So again, that's why I tell people that don't look like us, it's very dangerous for you, and you put yourself at risk, coming over here with that. So and making sure that you know your ancestors. I had somebody said they were Caribbean. They were Caribbean, so I would that'd be interesting to see how their ancestral work will go. I had somebody on TikTok saying that uh they were Gullah Geechee and some more stuff. So when I hear people say that, I get so excited for them because I'm like, oh, your ancestors were gonna be, I can't wait to see how your experience is gonna come. I can't wait to see what's gonna happen once we get in those workshops. So I get so excited for y'all when you share your ancestral history with me, especially when it's Gullah Geechee. Somebody said Caribbean. Somebody said they had some Jamaica in there. Ain't no telling what's gonna go up. Because when I think of Jamaica, especially if you got any Jamaican roots, I don't know, was this in here? This person was saying that. I don't know if that was on TikTok or on here, but you got some Jamaican roots, Jamaican ancestors. I can't help but think about Obeah. That's a powerful spiritual system right there. They had to outlaw it. That I think they just lifted that, but they had to outlaw that. That thing was so tough and clear things out. That's a you know it ain't even a book out there on that can talk about it. The only thing people can tell you about it, they can write books about how it'll mess you up if you get in be a man or woman way. That's the only thing they can tell you about it. They can't tell you nothing else. They can't tell you how it works. And even the bear person that's explaining it to you, uh, they can't really tell you. Again, because of the system how it works. I'm telling you now, they can't. Every book I have found on Obea, you're only hearing about people talking about you do not want to mess with this. Uh, they will do this and they can do that, and this is what we found in the house, and this person passed away. They can't tell you the inner workings of it. So to have ancestors that's connected with that would be a very interesting path to me. Hoodoo is very simple. That's what I said, Black Eyed P. I said the same thing, Black Eyed P. Hoodoo is very similar to Obia. I noticed as I learned about it. It is. I said the same thing. I said the same thing because, baby, you can get some of them conjure workers or hoodoo workers, baby, with fired up. I'm telling because that hoodoo, when you start looking at it and then you look a little bit at Obia, because when they tell you to study Obia, you basically have to understand and grasp all of it. You have to read several different esoteric and occult books, and that don't even scratch the surface of what it is. They can't even put it in the book, you know. Becca P said we sinners. We got to be. I'm telling you, they won't tell you them. Oh, Bill, they would not tell you nothing. I'm telling you, they know stuff. I think what book I was reading was that Maladoma. Was it the Maladoma book, ancestral book? I'm thinking it was one of his books that I was reading, and he was talking about his grandpa. And he was talking about his grandpa. They was walking somewhere, and this bird pooped on him, and he said this one word, and that bird fell out the sky, burnt up. Just this one word he said. Like I'm telling you, it's born in them, and then they get it's something about them. They have this deep relationship with nature, and they'll tell you if they do something to you, they will let you know it wouldn't have worked had the energy not been there, because they know how to turn that energy in on you. Now I've seen my mama do that one time. They know how whatever you got going on. See, that's the reason why my mama then was hitting me in my mouth and stuff, and I was looking at folks crazy. Here, you didn't do that. You didn't look at folks the wrong way. If they look different, you get hit in your mouth. But them folks, they would use that stuff, they would turn it in on you, and they would tell you, you did it to yourself. I didn't do it to you, you did it to yourself. They would tell you that. Whatever they're dealing with a natural divine law that people, they can't comprehend. Yeah, that'd be interesting to see what you come up with. I say, really get into your root work and start learning that plant medicine too. You'll be really probably blown away what you can work with that. I'm telling you. Some of our ancestors, that's why I tell people, again, this is indigenous knowledge. Not a lot of people have this knowledge. Our ancestors knew the knowledge, and even then, they wouldn't pass it on to us, you know. But they knew how. I'm telling them, Obia people, they know how to turn, and they'll tell you, I didn't do it, you did it to yourself. I wouldn't be able to do it had you not already been doing it to yourself. It's the most confusing stuff. It's so confusing. You be like, oh my God. You better leave them people alone, get out their way. Anything you're gonna do, you need to be sitting down and listen to them people and see what they got to say. 'Cause they got something to teach you. But usually you can't get no Obia woman or no Obia man to tell you nothing. I don't care if you watched them all day, you still wouldn't know what they was doing. And they be doing it right there in front of you. Same kind of like hoodoo. They be doing it right there in front of you, wouldn't even know what they were doing. So uh yeah, that's this how deep the roots go, and hoodoo runs into voodoo. Hoodoo will run into voodoo. It will run into the Orisha too. But again, I always say follow your ancestors because they'll lead you to where you need to be. And you'll see a lot of that once you start because I posted about the saints over there. I've posted where you can research the saints, see what they like, any prayers that they like. Uh and again, I can't give that out because it's too many saints to name for once. So that'll be part of your homework when your altar work when you want to work with saints. I know a real popular that everyone works with is Saint Expedite. You have some people working with Saint Peter because he's the same equivalent as Elegba, Eligua, Papa Legba. Again, you'll see some of these common archetypes because now that's the way I understand them. When I start looking at them, and because there's a common archetypes within the ATRs, and they seem to stretch out among the African diaspora culture. Okay, so you'll see these archetypes. They start the line up, and you'll start, and before you know it, because of your ancestral archetypes, they'll start showing up in your dreams. They'll start showing up in your dream, like Papa Legba show up in my dreams. And you'll start to see too where the archetypes will become immersed in your reality, where you'll start seeing them in everything. And I think that's where the Jewish mysticism come in at. When we begin to it becomes a way of life and we start to see these energies everywhere around us. We start to see these arch and we pick up more ancestral messages that way once we understand these archetypes and start working with them. Okay. I'm telling you, but once you dive into your ancestral practices and go back to what they practice, uh you're going to be amazed at your power and your walk with God. It just deepens. I don't care what you heard or what they're saying on here. Big Mama still had to fast. Big Mama still had to pray. Big Mama still had to keep her mouth off people. Big Mama still had to show mercy, grace, and compassion. Big Mama still had to show emotional maturity. They still had to live a certain way when it comes to this root work and hoodoo work. But then I've seen some conjure men, and I've seen this more common among men than anything, that they are just good at conjurers. And I think that I have my own opinions of why that is. I think I probably better keep it to myself, but uh I've seen some really great conjure men out there, you know, that's really good at it. And like I said, some people jump in the conjure, they go to working with spirits and stuff. And then if you don't understand that, and you don't understand that you got to pay these spirits or whatever, that's, somebody's bringing up them go ahead spirits now. You better know what you're doing. The way women do magic is very different from the way men do magic. It is. It is. It is. With me, I think it's because men, and I could be wrong, this is just my opinion from it. Men have to say the right things to entice women. Okay? I think they're very good at their wordplay. You understand me? They can be very charming. They know um the art of charming. And I think that's what gives men a edge at conjure. If that makes sense. I think they have to learn that at a very early age, and it's because, especially uh, if they're attracted, if you like women, I think they have to learn that at a very early age of how to use that wordplay. And I could be wrong, but that's just what I think. That's just what I think. I think they're very good at conjure because they had to learn at an early age with that wordplay. So they would be very good at getting a spirit to show itself or working with a spirit again, because that tongue in their mouth. You understand me? That tongue is powerful. I'm saying that tongue, that's gonna be your greatest hoodoo tool. That's your wand right there. You understand me? And I think they learn how to use that at a very early age. So I think that's why a lot of men jump into that conjure, because I think a lot of them are, I just think there is an innate talent for that in them. I could be wrong. That's just my observation. You might have your own opinion. You hear me? Black Storm said in the beginning it was the word, because you hear him out to say conversation rule the nation. You hear some conversation rule the nation. Now, if they got that fat talk, whatever, again, and these spirits like that, okay, they're attracted to certain words and certain rhythms you talk to them. I talked about that when you look at, music, especially when you looked at centers, you know, some of these men know they just talented at it. And I think from an early age they learn that they need to have their words in order, especially if they are going to be a. I think women gives them some of the skills they need to go on to be good conjure men. And most conjure men now, they got a lot of women. I'm just gonna tell you, most conjure men that ain't did they root work, they got a lot of women. They got a lot of women, most conjure men that ain't did their root work, they ain't did no healing work. Their life gonna be a little bit messed up. They're gonna have a lot of women. Another example of that, what was the man name on Cat Muddy Waters? He's a prime example of a conjure man. Yes, that's right. See, Muddy Waters would have been a country man. You seen that man? I never forget. He was standing outside that woman house. He was playing that music and singing, honey. And before he knew it, he was in that woman's bed. You understand me? Man was in that woman's bed. She didn't even know why she had him in her bed. What Rob Blackstorm said, a conjure man without a woman is not a good conjure man. He testing his skills on them women now. These conjure men, they will work you too. They will work you too. So, you got some of these conjure men, they got a whole bunch of, they have a whole bunch of babies and a whole bunch of women. So don't think just because he a conjure man, he on the right side of the street. I told y'all about my uncle. I told y'all about my uncle now. So you'll see most men go, they'll go directly into that conjure without doing anything. I don't want that for y'all. I really don't, because I feel like y'all be messing y'all life up when y'all do that. I just feel like y'all be messing y'all life up when you do that. You be missing so many jewels trying to jump ahead like that. But you'll see those most conjure men, I, yeah, their life is a little fast. Okay, I'm getting ready to close this down. Y'all have any more questions for me before I shut this down? Any more questions? Miss Penny, can you speak a little on what speaking in tongues is really is? Okay, so speaking in tongues, when I have seen it, I'm going to tell you from my observation and what I see it, because I have looked at a voodoo ceremony, and I have looked at, because I was raised Pentecostal. And when I look at that now, I see no difference between uh the people practicing voodoo, talking to their ancestors, and the difference in us talking in tongues, connecting with our most highest Igugun ancestors. I see no difference from that. Some of the same wordings. Uh, and again, when this happens to us, we start this utterance. That utterance begin to happen, and then you'll have that flow of speaking in tongues. And so I firmly believe that it is a way that we're diving in on a cellular level, connecting with our ancestors. Okay, and you got to remember that speaking in tongues and all that is in black people's culture. That is not a white person thing. Okay, that was specifically getting the Holy Ghost and all that stuff. That's for us. That comes from the ring shout, and that comes from us communicating with our ancestors. We did that first. It's not till later that you see other churches that don't look like us do it. Because first they said we were just a charismatic. They called us charismatic. We like charismatic worship. That's the way they coined it and called it. And then later on, you see other people that don't look like us start picking it up, and you'll see that in a lot of churches they do a lot of mocking the black church in a lot of these other churches. I seen a church that didn't look like us. They were singing, what was they singing? Stump by Kurt Franklin. I said, now look at that. Now y'all done messed this man's song up, and y'all singing this song up here in this thing. So you'll see a mimic of that. And so when you're seeing that, you're seeing them, okay, because we're soul people. It's important for you to understand too, your people are soul people. We're the only music they call soul music. You're soul people. So you set the tone and the blueprint. Look around you. Other cultures seem to follow you, even though they don't really like you. But you set the a tone for their spiritual practice, for their religion, for their culture. Without you, there would be no culture. I think saying it in Swahili is very powerful, because again, if you know another language besides the English language, because again, this is a bastardized language. It's an inverted language, and the way it's set up, we have to be careful with our words, because if we're not careful, we'll cross ourselves up. And you'll probably find yourself doing, when you first start your work. I tell people a lot of times, start off with your uncrossing basket, because we be saying stuff and sometimes doing stuff that cross ourselves up unknowingly. We don't even know we're crossing ourselves up. hmm They do a lot of copycatting. So you'll see that, you made the blues, they copied that. You made country music, they copied that. You made rock and roll, they copied that. You made rap, they copied that. You understand me? So again, understanding who you is, you set the blueprint for everybody's watching you. Whether they want to admit it or not, they're doing it. Okay? So you definitely tapped into power. You definitely, you are original. That's why when you go to that altar, you come up with something. You can come up with something ain't nobody ever seen before, but it's your magic and it works. I told you about that woman. She had her nothing but plain water in a jar, and she was working that water in that jar. She was doing some everything with that water in that jar, but it worked for her. You see what I'm saying? It don't have to look like nobody else. And don't be telling you doing that wrong. The only thing I'm gonna say, the only time I'm gonna say you doing something wrong is when you showing somebody your stuff. If you put it on social media for somebody to see, now I'm gonna definitely be like, you wrong for that. I ain't gonna even say you doing your work wrong, but I am gonna say you wrong for that, putting that on blast. You might as well stand in front of the camera naked if you gonna do that. You might as well pull off your clothes and just get in front of the camera naked if you gonna do that. That's why I said tap into your own magic. Don't follow nobody else's magic. I'm telling you, the magic that you create for yourself that makes sense to you is gonna be the five's magic. The psalm that you find in there for you that's going to work with your magic or whatever psalm you want to be you, that's going to be the psalm to help you tap into your magic. Okay? Now I want you to, read some of this for yourself. Um, and then come up with your own conclusion as well, because I can't tell you what the psalm mean. Now I can show you the book of what they mean. You can try to use some of those rituals. If that don't work for you, go another route. But I'm definitely gonna, present to you what our ancestors used. And so when you dive in your I'm glad Coley Cole said that when you dive into your creativity, you're diving into your magic. These people sitting up here practicing your magic, stealing your magic right in front of you. What you think music is? What do you think fashion is? What do you think dance is? That's your magic. They stealing our magic every chance they get. You understand me? So you're naturally magic. One of us to jump on TikTok and make up a dance, and then everybody else doing it. You know. So I'm just trying to help you look at it from a different perspective, uh, so you can have faith in your magic. And that's really what it is, you having faith in your magic and trusting your ancestors to show you how to tap into your magic. And that's pretty much what's going to be going on when you get into your ritual and you start looking at the herbs books we got over there. We got a book over there to teach you how to make your own conjure oils, because I want you to start making your own conjure oils, uh making your own bath salts, praying with them over your ancestors. I think I got some prayers I probably would post in there too that'll probably help some of you guys out. I can provide some prayers, but your prayers and stuff over there, you need to be testing out your magic, making your own conjure oils. I don't care what you got. Use what you got there. I had to make my own conjure oil here. What I use? I use some sunflower oil, a little pinch of salt, and some herbs. That's all I had. And I prayed over that thing. You hear me? I went and got me some songs and I prayed over that thing. And that's some 500 oil to me. Again, it don't have to be complicated. It's all about the intention and the ashe and power that you put into it. Okay, it's gonna work. So when you get over there, I want you to start making your own conjure oils, uh, making your own bath salts, creating your own work. You know, if you want to run it by me, then I say, oh, that I'll be like, oh, okay, everything's look good. And if it's something else, I think you probably want to take a look at, then I'll tell you that. But other than that, I'm not gonna be telling you what to do. Now, if you want to run something by me, yeah, I listen to it. And if I can provide any more insight to help, then I'll do that. But that's about it. It's on you. This your magic. Magic is you. You are the most important part in your magic. You know, the most important thing, don't be engaging in nothing. Once you get this, you get in your hoodoo, get grounded in your hoodoo, keep your mouth closed. Don't go, your mouth can't be raggedy because you don't want to taint none of your work. You want to be right when you go to that altar. Okay? A lot of what you're gonna be doing is shutting your mouth. You just gonna keep your mouth shut. You ain't gonna be saying too much of nothing. You're gonna be too focused on you. Oh, you have some people doing that. But what I noticed too when I had my shop over there in the States, I saw other people oils. What was the name of them oils? I just sold them, you know. But would nobody buy them manufactured oil? What people usually bought was my conjure oils that I had out there. A lot of people didn't like those manufactured, made, commercialized oils. I had some people, they would just buy my conjure oil. So a lot of people, they like the authentic oil. But if you're gonna be using somebody oils, making sure you consecrate it and you pray over it and set your own intentions out on it. I think that's important. If you're gonna be using other people's conjure oils, you're not sure yet about making your oils, just making sure you set the intentions for it. Sometimes if I have to use somebody else conjure oils, I'm not gonna right off the back use it. I'm gonna sit it on my altar and consecrate it and maybe do a couple of a ritual or two over it before I use it. That's just me. I'm gonna set the intentions for it. I'm not just gonna write off and start using it, you know. No, I got something I'm gonna do with this. I want to make sure it's gonna do what I want to do. So I'm gonna put my intentions on there. I'm gonna pray over it. I'm gonna do a ritual over it. That's just me. I just don't pick up people's stuff and start using it. So if you're gonna do that, I would recommend that. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you're gonna do that, make sure you pray over it. But I recommend that you make your own conjure oils because you know what's in it, and you set the intentions, and you know what day you made it. You know the energy that you were uh working with when you made it. You know everything about it, so you know what it's gonna do. You really don't know what it's gonna do when you get it from somebody else. This is a way you start trusting your own magic too. Okay. Yeah, and up there, I seen so much stuff on social media that I wasn't seeing here a couple of years ago, and I've been on YouTube for a while, and I become nervous for people, especially when I see these young tarot readers, uh, shuffling out these cards. They're not slowing down to read the card. There's no reason to put fluff on the reading. It ain't no, a spirit can do that all by itself. Okay? Because once you start turning over those cards and they start telling the truth, people gonna know you the truth. There's no reason to start making up stuff. If you just read the cards, because believe me, they gonna tell you what it is. There's no reason to put fluff on a reading, storyline or nothing. There ain't no reason for that. So when you see that stuff going on, get out the way. And they throwing these cards out. I even seen them. I don't know I don't know if that's right or wrong, but I just seen them use index cards. uh that they made their own card. They got index cards in there. I don't know. I don't know what that is. When I started seeing it, I was like, this what? They put index cards and wrote stuff on the cards on there? I said, oh, so this is something new to me. You know. I don't know what they're doing, but I keep the tradition. I keep a tradition. I don't, the only thing that I'm doing different is a lot of decolonizing and moving the misogyny out of a lot of the hoodoo lesson. But other than that, mm-mm. What you say, that makes so much sense, and everything is so expensive. I got more movement making my own powder. See, homeschooler say I got more movement, move my own powder because you know what it do. You put intentions in it. You spoke to it. It's yours. It come from your hands, your ashay, the energy from you. So yeah, it's gonna move. Listen, I hate that. Don't read me off an index. They have that too. I don't know what's going on, but it really makes me nervous. And the young generation love it. I don't know. I don't know. I must be getting old. I'm getting old, I guess. I'm in my 50s. I guess I'm getting old, but they love it. I said, I can't do that because God, that ain't right. You know what I'm saying? That's what I said, God, that ain't right. I can't do that. A great teacher should want to produce a great student. Miss Penny, I appreciate you always telling us to do the work and to tap into one's own power inside because you got it in you, you know. And I'm going to encourage you and motivate you. I'm going to root you on. Because that's much of what's going on there. You believing that you can do it, and the ancestors know you can do it. They know you can do it. You just got to see yourself do it, and build up that faith because we got to get those faith muscles strong too. Once you start working with them ancestors, your faith gets stronger. You have more faith in your magic. And you in your scripture and in your psalms the way you need to, you build up that power. But like I say, I covered a little bit of that in when we talked about Jewish mysticism over there and how we use it. Oh, thanks, Rob Blackstorm. So yeah, really getting into you because we get to the root of things over there. That is root work. Yeah, well, thank you, Cole. When I look at some of these young folks, I feel like I'm behind because I said, "What in the world?" And then I see them on here all night long. I said, "Nah, I know that's right." But I picked up one. It was one reader on there, honey. You could tell she looked drained. And she had been on there doing readings. I just popped in her comments. I said, baby, please stop doing this and go get you some rest because these people are draining your energy. Every time you come up here, you got these monitoring spirits, and then you got people up here are just, for a lack of a better term, they vampires. They on a low frequency. They need somebody pouring into them. They every day they need somebody. They absolutely can't do it for themselves. You got people like that. You got people absolutely they have to go to social media because uh they absolutely cannot pour into themselves. They on the low frequency, so that's important too to know where frequency that your ancestors was on. Were they motivators? Were they fire starters? You know what I'm saying? Were they fire starters, or were they people that were passive and looking for handouts? All that's important, you know. And again, you gonna know what frequency you're on once you do that ancestors work. Don't be disappointed in yourself. Don't judge it. Once you start looking at everything and looking at some of these people raggedy stuff in your family, because we do got some of us got some raggedy family members. Don't judge your wounds. The first thing you need to do is get them spiritual baths popping. That's what you need to do. You don't feel sorry for yourself. Give yourself mercy, compassion, and love, and get them spiritual baths popping. You can hear me? You get them affirmations popping and get them spiritual baths popping and get yourself in alignment. Okay? So don't get disappointed. We all had to do our work. That's why our ancestors created these spiritual baths and healing modalities in Hoodoo. You got the medicine right there in your hand. You just got to use it. Okay. All right, I'm gonna let y'all some of y'all go because I gotta get to work. I got somebody to do some work tonight before I go to bed. And do y'all have any more questions for me before I let you guys go? It's been such a pleasure having a conversation with y'all. And I usually don't like coming to lives, but honey, y'all make it a little bit easier for me to come here. No more questions for me? Okay, now I'm gonna close this live on now. You ain't got no more questions for me. But like again, I love y'all. Take care. And if you're looking to learn more about hoodoo from a healthy perspective and be rooted in it, I'm over there and it's affordable. Okay, you're not gonna break the bank. I promise you that. Okay. Love y'all. Y'all take care. You're welcome, Black Eyed Peas 69.